Kali Linux is created by Offensive Security as a tool for ethical hacking. It is one of the most popular tools found on the internet, and we're going to show you how to install it on VirtualBox. And we're going to do that right now. To get started, we're going to open up our browser, head over to Google, and we're going to search for Kali Linux. We're going to head over to the main website for Kali Linux, which is kali.org. Then at the top center, we can click on Downloads. And one of the very first options that we're going to select is Kali Linux 64-bit installer. When you click on this link, it's going to download the ISO for you. And we want to just verify that we have it downloaded in a spot that we can easily get access to. Next, what we're going to do is open up the Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager. And you can see here we already have a Ubuntu virtual machine installed. We're going to leave this one as is. If you're interested in how to install Ubuntu, you can check the link in the description below and we'll show you how to do that. To begin, we'll click on the new button at the top, and then we're going to enter in a name. We'll be typing in the name Kali Linux, and because it's not preloaded, we're going to be selecting the type as Linux. The version that we'll select will be Debian 64-bit, and then we'll click on Next. In memory size, we want to make sure that we maximize this to the fullest. So we're going to take the toggle and move it all the way to the edge of the green and use the most available memory that we have. Next, we're going to leave the option Create a Virtual Hard Disk Now and click on Create. Hard disk file type, we're going to leave it as the default VDI, VirtualBox disk image. Storage on physical hard disk, we're going to leave this as dynamically. File location and size, now we don't need to change the directory that it is in, but what we do want to do is maximize the amount of file space that we have. In here we're selecting 25 gigs. I actually recommend you go as high as possible. If you can get into the 90 gig range, that is going to be safer for you for installing all packages going forward. So we can click on Create and it's going to return us back to the VirtualBox Manager. But we're not done yet. We're going to click on Settings, and under General, we're going to select the Advanced tab. And under Advanced, we're going to go down to the Shared Clipboard and make sure we select Bidirectional. For drag and drop, we're going to do the same thing and select Bidirectional. This is going to allow us to copy and paste and share files and folders. Under Description, we can leave as is. Disk Encryption, we're going to leave as is. Then under System, we're going to go over to the Processors tab and click on that, and we're going to maximize the CPUs that we have available. In this case, we're going to maximize it all the way to the edge of the green, which is 4, and that will give us enough processing power we may need. Acceleration, we're going to leave as is. Display, we're not going to be touching anything here. In storage, you can see under Controller IDE that it says empty, and this is where we have to load in the image. So we're going to select on the CD image that says empty. Then on the right hand side, click on choose a disk file. In here, we're going to go to our downloads folder and select the CD image that we had downloaded for Kali Linux. And you can see here the ISO file is here. And we're going to click on open and it's going to load it. And right back under Controller IDE, you can now see the ISO image. Then again on the left hand side under audio, network, and the following, we're not going to be touching any of these categories. We're going to leave them as default. Unless you have reasons to change them, you can do so on your own. Then you can click on OK. And now we can begin. And to begin this installation, we're going to go over. On the left hand side, you can see Kali Linux is now loaded in here. All our configurations are made, and if you need to verify or double check anything, they're listed here in the information below. To get started, we're going to click on Start. And we'll be asked to select a startup disk. The ISO image will automatically be selected and populated below. We can click on Start, and continue the process. To begin, we'll have many options to select to do this installation. We're going to select the default graphical install. Now that it's loaded up, it's going to ask us to select a language. By default, English is here, and we're going to just keep it as English and then click on continue. It wants to select the location. Because we have United States as our default, we're going to keep it as is. Click on continue. And then to configure the keyboard, we have American English. Again, we're going to leave it as default and then click on continue. To configure the network, we're going to leave the host name as is, as Cali. Click on continue. Domain name will be next. We don't have to enter anything in here, so we can just continue with that and leave it blank. To set up a user and password is next, and we're going to type in our username as Geekwar. The account name is next. We're going to leave Geekwar in there as well. You can use whatever name you'd like. When you click on continue, we'll have to enter in a password. Alphanumeric is always recommended for security. We'll type in our password and then click on continue. For configuring the dock, it's going to ask to select a desired time zone. We're going to leave ours as Eastern, click on continue, and now it's going to partition the disks. For partition disk, we're going to use guided use entire disk. The next, we're going to just leave it as default as well. Here we're going to select all files in one partition, which is the recommended setting, and then click on continue. It's going to ask us to finish partitioning and write changes to disk. It's going to go ahead and do that. We'll click on continue. Next, it wants to know if we want to write changes to disks. We want to select yes, and then click on continue. Now we get to the software selection. It's going to ask if you want to add additional options like GNOME and KDE. We're going to leave the default options and continue. Install the Grub bootloader. We're going to select yes, click on continue. For device for bootloader installation, we want to make sure we're selecting the virtual drive and then click on continue. So there's just a few more steps left. This one is asking us if we like to keep the clock with UTC, which is a universal coordinated clock. We can select yes and then continue. And in the last step here, it's asking us to remove any media. This is a virtual setup, so there's nothing for us to remove. We can just click on continue, and the system will wrap up all its changes and reboot. And it's going to log us right back in. This is going to be our first time signing in, so you'll be prompted at the beginning for our username and password, and this is going to be the username and password that we had set up during the installation phase. Once you've logged in, you're going to notice that we are limited in the screen size that we're able to use. And in order for us to change that, we're going to install the Guest Additions package. So we'll open up the terminal, and then we're going to type in this command. Now the command is going to be linked in the description below, so you can just copy and paste this if you're going to do this on your own. And we're going to type this in, and we're going to hit enter, and it'll ask us for our password. We'll type in the password, and now it's going to install the Guest Additions CD image onto the system. Now once this has been installed, we want to shut down the terminal, and we're going to completely shut down the virtual machine. Once closed, we're going to reboot it back up. We'll type in our username and password again. we're going to open up the folder here, and on the left hand side you can notice that there's a new CD that is loaded on the left hand side. This is the guest additions image. We can highlight it all, select it, and then copy, and then we're going to paste it somewhere that's easily accessible. In this case, we're going to choose the downloads folder, and once pasted, we're going to go back into the terminal. So let's minimize this and go into our terminal, and we're going to execute a couple of these commands in here. Again, this is going to be in the description below. So we're going to cd into the downloads folder, list the files, and we're going to want to change the read-write permissions here. So we'll chmod 755, paste it, okay, and then we can hit enter. Okay, and now we're going to run it, so it's period / and then we can paste the name. So we didn't run it with administrative privileges, so we're going to have to type in sudo, then period / and then the name VBoxLinuxAdditions.run, enter. Okay, so we'll type in our password, and it's going to ask us if we want to continue. We'll say yes, and we'll allow it to load everything in here. Now this might take some time. We sped it up. When completed, it's going to want to restart. So we'll then close the terminal window, go up to the menu at the top, and we're just going to shut down the virtual machine one more time. Okay, so now that we have it loaded back up, we're going to type in our username and password and log back in. And once we're logged back in, we can immediately try to make changes here and change the screen size. And we can full screen it. And basically, this is fully functional VirtualBox installation. And for an example, what we can do here is we can just open up the terminal, install one of the GitHub libraries that is very practical and useful for network security, and that'll install. And that's just an example. Many useful tools that you can use with Kali Linux. It'll say yes. So we'll have some more tutorials on intrusion and prevention and other useful tools that you can use with Kali Linux. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. I hope you liked the video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.